Ah, what a beautiful day in the apocalypse. Oh, bakery spotted! Don't run for me, you little bitch! Get back here!
He's trying to get in my ass!
Dying Light is one of my favorite game series of all time, and seeing how there's gonna be a brand new game with good old Daddy Crane returning as the main character, I just had to make a challenge video on the game that started it all. I wanted to see if I could beat the game without using any weapons, with a little something special included to make this even more fun. If you read the title, then you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, just stick around and I'll explain myself later. With that being said, buckle up and enjoy the ride. It all started in the back of a cargo plane. A shady corporation was sending an undercover operative, me, into the zombie-infested city of Haran in order to find a super secret file that had been stolen from them. They made the right choice in choosing me for this mission. I have a black belt in every discipline, and I don't weigh myself down with unnecessary gear like guns or weapons. Ugh. I jumped from the plane after getting my mission briefing, parachuted into Haran, and biffed the landing, ending up on my face. When I looked up, I was being surrounded by 3 burly men who were staring at my finely toned ass. I pulled my gun on the 3 men. My employers forced me to take it even though I didn't know a damn thing about it. I was soon beaten over the head and without thinking shot one of my attackers. They got scared and ran, but right when I thought I was safe, I got an unwanted love bite from a zombie. I was saved by a guy and a pretty girl, however only one of them ended up surviving, and I soon blacked out after the girl started to stare at me. I woke up just before I was poked by a child, and my inner voices kept saying push, push, push. Do it. I made my way down to the lower floor where an outbreak took place and found it all covered in jam. I was reporting to my employers at the GRE when a scream caught my attention. I grabbed a pipe as a weapon, but soon discarded it and proceeded to kick the zombie in the face. I got the injured man some gauze and enough alcohol to cover his wounds and my crippling anxiety. I saw the pretty girl again, whose name was Jade. But sadly, we didn't get to talk much, and I was soon stuck with her brother instead. He tells me that I need to learn the ropes, and proceeds to make me climb across a crane hundreds of feet in the air, land in a bunch of garbage, and make me run an obstacle course. Once I finished, I was hit with some severe Mountain Dew withdrawal, and I barely made it back to Rahim. He sends me off to get a new hit from a nearby doctor, finally allowing me to enter the open world. I found the doctor and was injected with a fresh dose of dew straight into the veins, and stopped by Spike in order to get my next assignment. He wanted me to set up some car alarms for an upcoming night mission. I finished the first one easy enough, but was soon contacted by Jade, and I immediately stopped what I was doing and agreed to help her check out a safe house nearby. I took out the 2 zombies guarding the door and dealt with the zombie on the inside with a swift kick to the ass. I finished the safe house and returned to helping Spike out with the traps, dealing with the zombies that had taken residence in front of some cars and flipping some switches until the power grid decided to shut down. I raced to the power station and was about to restart the power when a monstrous zombie with a piece of rebar burst out of a nearby building. Damn, how will I get past this one? I restarted the substation, regaining power, and returned to the safe house ready to call it a day, when a strange zombie with big green blisters appeared nearby. It saw me staring and, like the girls from high school, ran off in the other direction. In the morning, after a good night's sleep, I spoke with Spike, who tells me that the mission was a bust, and that their leader, Brecken, was badly injured. I reported to the GRE real quick before going to meet Brecken, and volunteered to go get more supply drops in order to get on his good side. I should probably explain the special little element to this challenge video now. You see, I played this challenge run back before September 2nd, and at that time, Dying Light was having a special event known as the Hypermode event. This allows for my punches and kicks to hit with enough force to send enemies flying, and don't even get me started on the drop kick. Is this a normal Dying Light challenge video? Hell no. Is it going to be fucking hilarious? Fuck yeah. I hope you guys don't mind me doing a challenge like this, and as always, I hope you enjoy the show. Returning to the video, I found a supply drop on top of a building, but it was sadly empty. We were lucky enough to see 2 more drops off in the distance, and I rushed to intercept them. Rice's men had already reached the first, and the sun was getting really low, and I definitely didn't want to be outside at night. I sprinted to the second drop, and I was finally able to find the medicine we needed. I contacted the GRE to report my success, and these bastards tell me to destroy the vials in order to force the people in the tower to deal with Rais. I hesitantly threw the vials into the fire, and just when I think my conscience was about to pop up, something truly terrifying found me. Sorry, that was too harsh. The volatile didn't deserve that. Getting back to it, I evaded the volatile's pursuit and got a bit distracted by some cake before I was able to make it back to the towers and discuss our next moves. I volunteered to go and deal with Rais, and after waiting for morning to come around, I booked it to Rais' compound, rescuing a man who was getting soft neck kisses in the middle of the street. I met with Rais and he tells me that if I was going to get any medicine, then I'd be doing some of his dirty work. Without telling me anything else, he left and I talked with his operations guy, Rahim. He tells me to go repair some radio tower nearby, but before I set out, I reported to the GRE and let them know that Rais most likely was the guy who stole the data. The GRE orders me to work with Rais until I'm able to retrieve the files stolen, and just like that, I am off to repair a radio tower. I dealt with the zombies outside, killing them with 1 or 2 hits, and even baited a big guy to blow himself up. That sadly didn't kill him, and I led him away to allow me to open a control room door. However, an uninvited Valorant player decided to fall from the sky. I introduced the bottom of my foot to the spitter's jaw, and had the misfortune of getting blown up. Rattled and embarrassed, I couldn't allow anyone who saw that to live, and I went to town, wailing on anything and everything in sight until the big guy went down. I opened the door only to get an unwanted hug, and I responded how every introvert wished they could respond. I got the power working, I climbed the tower in order to check its components, I made a new friend, and found that the tower's electronics were already scavenged. I was told to head to the second radio tower, and on the way I completed the Hypermode event, and was rewarded with an overpowered glowing baseball bat. Sadly, this isn't a bat challenge, and I put it away and was able to clear out another safe house in the process. I let out some of my growing anger. I scaled the second radio tower, and was thankfully able to get it back up and running. And when I was making my way back to Rais' home base, I couldn't help but beat up some of Rais' thugs. I stopped by another safe house to take out some trash, and found a random magical zombie who faked his own death.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
I finally made it back to Rais, who refused to give me the drugs we agreed on, and sends me off to do more of his errands. Trying my hardest not to let the voices take over, I collected the money that was owed, and in the process, I fist-fought a bunch of virals, encountered the average Taco Bell enjoyer, and found a new use for zombies. While I was going back to Rais' base, Rahim sent me to go find info that was lost with patrol, and when I found it, I was immediately attacked by a psycho with a rifle. I didn't really feel like getting filled with hot lead, and I booked it back to Rais' base. I am finally able to acquire some medicine, but instead of the 2 crates he promised, I was only given 5 vials. I was going to protest, but when he shoved the barrel of his rifle in my face, I decided to keep quiet. I brought the medicine back to the tower and walked in on Brecken at a bad time. He tried to hide the evidence, but I'd seen nothing left. Having been scarred, I put on my emotional support armor and found Rahim on the roof. My inner voice was going crazy. I was able to quell the voices and Rahim narrowly died before I go out and enjoy the event, kicking every zombie I see in the face, enjoying the way their bodies ragdoll. I even chased after a grown man's ass when they tried to run away from me, making me feel like the T-1000 as I ran this man down. I watched as he was taken out by zombies before meeting up with Jade in a train car, who was planning to infiltrate the worst place imaginable, high school. Rest in peace, Lord Vader. Breaking into the school involved a lot of kicking zombies off the roof and kicking Rais' men in the face. They were so shit that they can only take a couple hits before falling over like a sack of potatoes. Hey guys, where are you going? Oh, what's that? I proceeded to take out the remaining soldiers who tried to blow me up, and made sure I imprinted my fist in their faces. I took their keys and absolutely obliterated a zombie. I had a run-in with a viral who I blasted into a wall, and when I tried to dropkick him, he dodged out of the way and proceeded to trip over his own feet. I finally made it down to the basement where I find Jade, who had somehow snuck by every single zombie and guard. We popped open a crate hoping to find medicine, and all we find was a bunch of useless plastic explosives. I have Jade take the bombs and escape as I show the remaining guards how I used to sell scores in the high school locker room. I left the school and stumbled across a guy who had a bit too much monster energy, and watched as it scurried away up a wall. I made it back to the tower and dealt with a shitty neighbor, before talking with Rahim about the explosives we found. I had to repeatedly tell him not to go blow up a nearby volatile nest, because he's a dumbass, who always wears goggles, but I've never seen him put them on. After making fun of Rahim's fashion sense, I go and talk to the doctor about the zombies with giant green blisters. Curious, the doctor sends me off to collect some skin samples from the zombie. I cleared out an outpost near one of their spawn points, and with a swift dropkick from a 2-story two-story building. I am collecting its skin and returned to the doctor so he could study it. I left the doctor and was planning to do some more zombie kicking. However, Rahim decided to go and get himself into trouble. He got mad after I insulted his goggles and went off to blow up the volatile nest on his own. I tracked the little shit down to a train station and was once again attacked by a Valorant player who I immediately showed what the bottom of my feet looked like. I found Rahim and in his god-level intellect armed the bombs. I took the explosives and after a quick shit-filled swim through the sewers, I am setting the bombs on the nest supports, and after breaking a woman's ankles, I am watching the building come down in a cloud of destruction. I made it back to Rahim, prepared to kick his ass for doing something so stupid. But when I opened the train door, I found him newly transformed into a zombie. He attacked me, and I had no choice but to snap his neck like he was made out of uncooked spaghetti. I returned to the tower to tell Brecken what happened. He didn't take it well, and when I think he's going to take it out on me, Jade appears.
Hello there.
I was about to run after her, but the gaming gods got in the way of my love life by having Rais attack the doctor's RV nearby. I dealt with the goons that were attacking, but I was too late and they had already kidnapped Dr. Zara and had taken him to their base. I sprinted my way to their base and used my epic parkour skills to climb up the side of the building and drop kicked an unsuspecting guard off the roof. I made my way and was contacted by the GRE, and I learned that the Ministry of Defense is about to firebomb Haran. Now on a time limit, I didn't hold back against the remaining guards, making sure they knew how hard I can hit right now. I made it down to the parking garage. Even though there were many grown men with assault rifles, they crumpled under my fists and I put them where they belonged. I was punching the last guy into submission when I smelled a bitch and began to punch a steel door. I was rewarded when a guard burst out of the door and right into my flailing punches. I rescued the doctor and then was hit with an Uno reverse card, leaving me in the hands of Rais. I was knocked out and woke up in a giant arena, and after a villain monologue, Rais released the other contestants. I used the word contestants very loosely, as they are unable to stand up to any of my punches or kicks. It was so easy I stunted on them and broke their frail ankles. I dealt with them, got an early Christmas present, and finally realized how powerful I truly am.
Nice.
I killed the Demolisher so fast that I took him out before the waves of virals it could spawn in. I still had to take them out, but the damage was absolutely mind-boggling. I finished the arena, took Rice's masturbating hand, and was too late to save the doctor. Rice did the customary screaming the MC's name, and I parkoured my way out of there. I tried my best not to get shot in the ass. I escaped the arena and had such a bad seizure that I passed out and ended up in a random shipping container with Brecken nearby. I prayed to God they didn't touch my little crane, as he tells me that Jade made her way to Sector 0. I immediately got on my way to find Jade, taking out a fireman as I went, and found a guy who could get me to Sector 0. I was told to meet a guy in the sewers, and after a quick swim, I make my way through the sewer system until I am ultimately betrayed by the sewer guide. Leave me in the hands of Rice's men. However, I'm able to show why you shouldn't fuck with a guy who can kick your head off your shoulders. I systematically took out the armed soldiers one by one, punching, kicking, biting, and twisting anything I could get my hands on. I was forced to retreat multiple times, but that just lulled them into a false sense of security that I squashed under my boot. Making it out of the sewer, I crashed a little party, and after getting riddled full of holes, I come back with a ferocious kick to the remaining men, leaving them sprawled on the floor, easy targets for my fists. I finally reached Sector 0 and met with a resistance group that was being based in 2 large towers. I met Troy, a woman with a burn scar on the side of her face, and she tells me that Jade was last seen at an old university. I made my way to the university, found Spike, who somehow found his way to Sector 0, and discovered that Jade was nowhere to be found. I was parkouring my way back to the towers and found the rebels watching a news program, explaining that the government was nearly ready to firebomb Haran. Troy had a daring plan to get the world's attention, to let them know that there were still people in the quarantine, and I was sent off through the sewers once again to meet with one of her men. I found Troy's man, and he tells me where to set his explosive charges. I planted the first 2 charges easy enough, using the camouflage skill in order to make the process even easier, until I'm stuck between 2 virals and was forced to fight them off. I took them out and used their guts as makeup, watched a man violently shit himself, and found that final evolution of an iPad kid. I put the creature out of its misery and set the 3rd charge, all the while dropkicking every zombie that tried to come into the apartment. I was setting the 4th and final charge when at the last second, a zombie slapped me on the ass so hard the charge disappeared. I turned around and punched the zombie in the face for sexual harassment before finally being able to set the final charge and skedaddled my way out of there. Like every zombie game, the elevator gives out right when I'm trying to escape, and I have to sprint my way through the waiting zombies. I even did something pretty cool involving a bomber. I was able to escape and set off the charges, lighting up the building with a glorious display. However, right when we were celebrating, a jet flies in out of nowhere and destroys the symbol, and further keeping the secret that there was no one left in Haran. After the symbol is taken out, Jade contacts me and tells me where to meet her, but when I go to the location, Jade is nowhere to be found, and there is blood all over the walls. Rais has Jade and is keeping her captive in his current base at the museum. Knowing that the place would be filled with guards, I find an old museum custodian who tells me about a flooded portion of the building that would allow me to sneak my way into the compound. I found the underwater section and took a long swim through the destroyed museum, slowly running out of oxygen as I went. I emerged from the water to an unwelcome seizure, and made my way through the walls until popping out on an unsuspecting guard, sending one flying and pinwheeling the other. Letting me into the museum proper, I confronted Rais in a display room, and he sent more of his goons out to take me down. I took them out with little ease, letting out some of my pent-up anger. When the guards up top appeared, I was able to get a nice double kill before my body succumbed to a hot lead. I continued my way through the museum, fighting off guard after guard, dealing with my growing seizures, and having to listen to Rice's annoying-ass voice. I got stuck between a wall and a horde of zombies at one point, trying to frantically kick anything that came within kicking distance. At some point, I realized that this was a bit too much to handle, and I pushed my way to the end, dealing with the remaining guards, and finally finding Jade through the large door. We were both edging hard and needed a new fix of medicine, but before we could do that, we were swarmed by more zombies, and I finally got to fight with Jade by my side. We worked well as a team, taking out zombies left, right, and center, until we finally finished off the last one trippy hallucination scene later. I am being attacked by zombie Jade, but plot twist, she wasn't a zombie and injected me with our last vial of antizin. With that being the last of our medicine, Jade got to do one last badass fight scene before falling to the infection and becoming a zombie for real this time. I took her out like her brother, snapping her neck far too easily, by the way, and then focused on the giant man in a shitty looking vest who was running my way. To here is a mountain of muscle and wicked looking machete. I tried to kick him to death, but he dodges my drop kicks and my normal kicks didn't do much damage. That is until I started using my fists instead, getting his health down to half and making him spawn his lackeys, who get a swift exit from life, before I continue my Dahir beatdown, getting him down to being one shot, and with an epic exchange of blows, I am able to take him out. It was refreshing to see an MC not leave a dangerous enemy alive, and actually took him out of the equation. I recovered the late doctor's tissue samples, and my non-existent gear from some remaining guards before finally escaping the museum. On my way back to Troy, I tried to fight a wild demolisher with terrible results. Since our last attempt at contacting the outside world didn't work so well, Troy sent me on a mission to restart a massive radio tower outside the city. The only way to get to this tower is, of course, the sewers!
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
These sewers were packed full of virals, and I tried my best to fend them off, but I realized that there was no end to them. I ran away, taking them out as quick as I could, while a rogue demolisher lumbers closer, and I fumbled around trying to put on some camouflage and narrowly escaped feeling the demolisher's breath on the back of my neck. I was finally able to reach the end of the sewer and did a leap of faith into a whole shit ton of garbage. In order to start up the tower, I needed to find a key card, and nearly die on multiple occasions, most of them involving those fucking boomers. I finally find the access card in the shipment container with the spitter on top, and Crane gives out the most relatable reaction.
Yes, fucking finally.
I've made my way to the power substation and bullied some spitters that were on the roof before making it inside and flipping the power back on. With the power reinstated, I needed to make it to the top of the tower to hook up an amplifier. I restarted the elevator and waited for its slow descent, but just like earlier, the elevator plummets to the ground, awakening a whole nest of virals. I dealt with the virals and then started the slow and long journey to the top of the radio tower, where I have a mini heart attack as I misjudged a jump before I'm finally able to make it to the top of the tower, install the amplifier, and save Haran by the skin of its balls. With my butthole slowly unclenching, I zipline down to where I can make it back to Sector 0, and learned that Crane has the shittiest luck. On my way back to Sector 0, I kicked a man into a fire, witnessed some weird shit, before witnessing some gross shit. After a quick swim, I am back to Sector 0, and is tasked to bring Dr. Zara's research to Dr. Camden, in order for him to create a cure. Before I reach the research center, I level up enough to unlock the grappling hook, my absolute favorite item in this game. I made it to the research facility, and quickly took out the sentries guarding the outside with some quick grapple hook plays. I slid into some guards' DMs with a swift kick to the dick, and after a good old beatdown, I am emerging from the elevator. Unable to make it far, I pretended that I was playing Among Us, and found the necessary keycard to gain access. Some double doors open, and I kick a man so hard I embed him into the ceiling for a couple seconds, making me feel unstoppable, until I immediately turn into a bitch when I come face to face with a boomer in close proximity. I even tried to run out the door I came in through, but I was cock-blocked by a hazmat zombie, forcing me to run for cover. After that humiliation, I find myself in an average Comic-Con. Its foul odors toxic to whoever breathes it in. I make it to the generator room after a while and is able to restart the power to its facility. I fucked with a demolisher a little bit before I left. This felt a little 1940s Germany to me, and I am finally able to deliver the tissue samples to the doctor. With the tissue samples delivered, I climbed to the top of a tall tower in order to contact the GRE one more time, only to hear Rice's voice on the phone, and listen to him goad me into trying to get me to come to him to finish this. I agreed, but when I was making my way to the slums, I passed a volatile running from the sun, and I couldn't help myself as I chased that thing down like it was my prey, loving the roll switch. It only sucks that I wasn't able to deal the finishing blow. Instead, it burned to death, leaving me disappointed. Anyway, I fast traveled back to the slums because fuck the sewers! And was able to reach the 1,000 kill milestone on the event counter. I was practically ready to take on Rais as I was, but I decided I'd train my parkour a bit more in order to be able to run longer and tried to achieve this through nighttime grinding. I continued my grinding through the night and into the early morning, where I drop-kicked Volatile in the back of the head, and was finally able to upgrade my skills. With my skills increased, I even went around the map to collect different herbs and spices to create my energy drinks. Drugs. And with all that taken care of, I made my way to Rice's compound and started the final mission. Starting the finale with a seizure is never a great sign, and Crane says exactly what I do whenever the voices get a bit too loud.
Oh, would you just shut up? You're the last thing I want to hear.
The gauntlet began, and I am sprinting through the compound with virals on my tail until I fall into hell itself. I quickly make the iPad kid shut up and started the part of this mission I always dread. I popped my energy drinks, giving me unlimited stamina and increased speed, which is incredible. I unfortunately misjudged how fast I was going and biffed some easy parkour. Tried again, I got farther, but right when I was about to jump a gap, a volatile spanked my ass, making me lose my momentum and not be able to clear the jump. Pissed off, I made sure my effects were topped off and booked it through the tunnels until I am finally able to reach the end and enjoyed the view of the volatiles running off the side. I emerged on the abandoned arena, took the longest elevator ride, chugged some energy and blasted my way through the zombies. I was stopped by Rahim, whose long ass dialogue cost me most of my effects as I jumped from the building and onto a conveniently placed crane nearby. I watched a man's head explode midair and asserted my dominance as the true Crane. I sped through the rundown buildings, caffeine coursing through my veins so hard that I run off the side of the building by accident. Going a bit slower next time allowed me to make my way through the destroyed zombie-infested building much easier, bringing me to the top of the biggest crane in all of Haran, forcing me to jump from it at the last second and clamber my way up the side of a building until I'm finally face to face with Rais. He threatened to destroy the data that I had completely forgotten about, and before I knew what was happening, there was a knife in my shoulder. I tried to grab the data, but Rais pulled a machete out of his ass, and after a bunch of quick time bullshit, I bury his blade into his stomach. Why the fuck am I not killing Rais? Crane was smart about killing Tahir, but when the big bad guy is dead to rights, Crane gives him a chance to fight back. Oh look, the consequences of my actions. As I was dangling from the suspended cargo container, I ripped out the dagger in my shoulder and plunged it into Rice's neck, sending him toppling over the edge to the ground below. I leaped for safety, told the GRE to go fuck themselves, and proved that yes, you can beat Dying Light Hypermode without weapons. I hope you all enjoyed this challenge video. I know it isn't my normal Fallout videos, but I felt like doing something new, and with the Hypermode event going on at the time of recording the gameplay, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. I also wanted to apologize for the lack of content here lately. I got sick as a dog soon after my 1,000 subscriber video and couldn't do much. I plan on getting back into creating videos, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any ideas for challenge videos, leave them in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and with that, love you guys. See ya.